Mayweather's IQ with a bite of his own.
What if the worst night of your career wasn't even a real loss? Pause. Imagine stepping into a boxing ring undefeated, a two-division world champion, one of the most disciplined fighters on the planet, and getting knocked down, not once, not twice, 3 times, in front of millions of people watching live. Now imagine finding out weeks later that the man who did it to you wasn't even supposed to be allowed in that ring in the first place. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's exactly what happened to Devin Haney. And it's one of the strangest, most controversial nights in modern boxing history, because on paper, Devin Haney lost that fight. The world watched him get dropped. Commentators called it one of the biggest upsets in years, and for a while, Devin Haney had to sit there in silence, wearing the label of the guy who got knocked down 3 times, even though something wasn't right. This is the story of a kid who did everything the right way, who built one of the cleanest, most disciplined careers in boxing, and then, in one single night, watched it almost get taken away by something completely out of his control. Let's talk about the night that broke Devin Haney, and how he tried to put himself back together, the kid who skipped the line. Devin Haney was born in San Francisco, California, but he grew up mostly around Las Vegas, a city that basically breathes boxing. And from a really young age, it was obvious this kid was different. Most boxers spend years and years in the amateur system. Hundreds of fights, headgear, national tournaments, all before they ever think about turning pro. It's the traditional path almost every fighter takes. Devin didn't take that path. Pause. He turned professional at just 16 years old. 16. Most kids that age are worrying about getting their driver's license. Devin Haney was already signing contracts and stepping into a professional boxing ring, getting paid to fight grown men. Now, that's not just some flashy story detail. Think about what that actually means. To turn pro that young, in a sport this dangerous, this unforgiving, you need talent, obviously. But you also need something else. Discipline. An almost unnatural level of maturity. Because the amateur system exists partly to protect young fighters, to let them make mistakes in a safer environment before the real pressure hits. Devin skipped that safety net entirely. And from his very first fight, he made it look easy. He debuted with a first-round knockout and just kept winning from there. Fight after fight, his record kept climbing, and boxing insiders started paying very close attention to this young fighter out of Las Vegas, who fought with the kind of composure you usually only see in fighters twice his age. There was something almost old school about the way Devin Haney fought. He wasn't the flashiest guy. He wasn't out here trying to knock every single opponent out in spectacular fashion for the highlight reels. Instead, he fought smart. He used his jab. He controlled distance. He outthought opponents instead of just out-muscling them. People started calling him the Dream, and by his early 20s, that dream was about to become very, very real. The Undisputed King. In 2019, Devin Haney won his first world title, the WBC lightweight title, becoming a world champion while still shockingly young. And from there, he just kept climbing. By 2021, Devin unified the lightweight division, picking up more and more belts, until finally, in 2022, he did something that very few fighters in boxing history ever accomplish. He became the undisputed lightweight champion of the world. Pause. Let that phrase actually sink in for a second. Undisputed. That means every single major world title in his weight class, WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO, all belong to one man. Not a champion. The champion. No arguments, no asterisks, no other guy in the division who could claim he was better. At the time, Devin Haney was still in his early 20s, and he had already reached the very top of the mountain in one of boxing's most competitive divisions. But here's the thing about being undisputed champion. Once you're at the top, There's really only one direction people expect you to go. Either you defend that throne over and over, proving you belong there, or eventually, someone's going to come for it. Devin defended his undisputed crown. He beat quality opponents, fighters who had real, dangerous styles. And through it all, his record stayed spotless, undefeated. Not a single loss on his professional resume. Eventually, Devin made a decision that a lot of great fighters eventually make. He decided to move up in weight, chasing a second world title in a new division, at super lightweight, 140 pounds. And in 2023, he beat a very tough, very experienced fighter named Regis Prograis, shutting him out on the scorecards to become a two-division world champion. 2 weight classes, multiple undisputed and unified titles. An undefeated record built entirely on skill, discipline, and years of sacrifice. By every single measurement that matters in boxing, Devin Haney had already built a Hall of Fame level career, and he wasn't even 30 years old yet. So what could possibly go wrong for a fighter this good, this accomplished, this disciplined? Pause. The answer came on one single night in April of 2024. A night that would completely change how people talked about Devin Haney, for reasons that had almost nothing to do with his own boxing ability. The fight everyone wanted for years. Boxing fans had been begging for one specific fight. Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. These two had actually fought each other as amateurs years before either of them turned pro, and Devin reportedly had the better of those meetings. But as professionals, their paths had gone in slightly different directions. Ryan Garcia had built this massive, electric fan base, millions of social media followers, a huge personality, incredible hand speed and knockout power. Devin Haney had built something different, a quiet, business-like dominance, an undefeated record, and championship belts in 2 divisions. When the fight was finally signed for April 20th, 2024, at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, it felt like one of the biggest crossroads fights of the entire year. Devin, the WBC super lightweight champion, putting his undefeated record and his title on the line against Ryan Garcia, the fast-talking, hard-hitting challenger with something to prove. The fight was even given a name. This one counts. A reference to all those old amateur fights between them that never made the record books. This time, everything would be official. Leading into fight week, though, there was already a strange sign that something wasn't quite right. Ryan Garcia stepped on the scale at the weigh-in and missed weight. He came in over the contracted limit of 140 pounds, meaning that even if he won, he legally couldn't take Devin's title. The fight would go on, but only Devin could win the belt that night. Garcia had already broken part of the deal before a single punch was even thrown. Most fans didn't think too much of it. Missing weight happens in boxing. It's not common at that level, but it's not unheard of either. Nobody in that arena that night had any idea just how much bigger this story was about to become. Because when the opening bell rang, something looked different about Ryan Garcia. The night everything changed. From the very first rounds, it was clear this wasn't the fight most people expected. Ryan Garcia looked faster, sharper. His punches were landing with a kind of speed and snap that even seasoned commentators noticed and started talking about in real time. And then it happened. Garcia landed a shot, and Devin Haney, the undefeated, undisputed former lightweight champion, went down to the canvas. Pause. The crowd erupted. It was already one of the biggest upsets many had seen in years. But the night wasn't finished delivering shocks. Later in the fight, it happened again. Devin Haney down for a second time, and then, unbelievably, a third knockdown. Pause. 3 times. A fighter who had never lost, who had never even really looked in serious danger in most of his previous fights, was sent to the canvas 3 separate times in one single night. Somehow, through sheer will and experience, Devin Haney survived. he made it to the final bell still on his feet. And when the scorecards were read, Ryan Garcia was declared the winner by majority decision. The boxing world exploded. Ryan Garcia's name was suddenly everywhere. Pundits called it one of the biggest performances of the year. Fans debated whether Devin Haney's reign as an elite fighter was actually over. His undefeated record, the thing he had protected and built so carefully for his entire career, had just been taken from him. But because Garcia had missed weight days earlier, he still wasn't allowed to actually win Devin's title. So there was this strange, almost hollow ending to the night. Garcia got the win on his record, Devin kept his belt, but everyone watching believed exactly one thing. Devin Haney had just suffered the first real loss of his career. Pause. Except, that's not actually what happened, because what came out just weeks later would turn this entire story completely upside down. The truth comes out. Not long after the fight, reports started surfacing that Ryan Garcia had failed multiple drug tests. Both before and after the fight, Garcia's samples had come back positive for a banned performance-enhancing substance called ostarine. Let that sink in. The same man who had knocked Devin Haney down 3 times, who had looked faster and sharper than anyone had ever seen him look before, had been caught with a banned substance in his system, both leading into the fight and immediately after it. Garcia's team pushed back hard. His lawyers claimed it was some kind of contaminated supplement, that he never intentionally cheated. He publicly stated that everybody knew he didn't cheat, but the New York State Athletic Commission conducted their investigation, and the results were clear enough that they handed down real consequences. Ryan Garcia was suspended for 1 full year. He was fined, and most importantly for this story, the result of the fight itself was completely overturned. Devin Haney's loss was erased, officially changed to a no contest. His undefeated record was restored on paper. He kept his title, kept his 0 in the loss column, and technically, in the record books, that fight almost doesn't exist anymore. Pause. But here's the part that really matters, the part that no ruling on paper could ever fully fix. Devin Haney still went through those 3 knockdowns. He still stood in that ring and took punishment from a man who, we now know, may have had an unfair chemical advantage that night. The bruises were real. The embarrassment in front of millions of fans was real. The doubt that crept into people's minds about his career, whether he was really as elite as everyone thought, that was real too. Even after the official result changed, you can overturn a scorecard. You can't fully overturn what it felt like to be Devin Haney in that ring, getting hit by punches that maybe, just maybe, he shouldn't have had to face in the first place. Devin didn't stay quiet about it either. He later filed a lawsuit against Ryan Garcia, citing battery, fraud, and breach of contract, essentially arguing in a legal setting exactly what a lot of fans were already saying online. That the fight itself, the physical damage he took that night, happened under circumstances that weren't fair or legal to begin with. This is really the heart of the betrayal in this story. It's not really about a rivalry between 2 fighters trash-talking each other. It's about trust. Boxing, at the highest level, runs on an assumption that both fighters are on a level playing field, that the only advantages in that ring are skill, preparation, and heart. When that trust gets broken, it doesn't just affect a result on paper. It affects a person's body, their reputation, and their sense of fairness in a sport they've dedicated their entire life to. Devin Haney did everything right his whole career, turned pro young but responsibly, built championships the hard way through unification fights and undisputed status, never had a single hiccup with performance-enhancing drugs himself, and then, in one night, all of that discipline nearly got erased by circumstances completely outside his control. So the real question became, how does a fighter come back from something like that? Not just physically, mentally. Part 6. Picking himself back up. For over a year after the Garcia fight, Devin Haney didn't step back into the ring. That's a long time for any professional athlete, especially one still very much in his prime. You have to imagine what those months were like. Watching the sport move on without you, dealing with lawsuits and commissions and public debate over a fight that officially wasn't even supposed to count anymore. When he finally did return, in May of 2025, he faced a tough, experienced fighter named Jose Ramirez. It wasn't just another fight. It was a statement. A chance for Devin to step back into that ring and remind the world exactly who he still was. And he did exactly what the Dream had always done best. He controlled the fight with his jab, his footwork, his boxing, IQ, and picked up the win, extending his record to 31 wins, 0 losses, with that one, no contest, sitting quietly in the record books as a reminder of everything he had to fight through just to get back to this point. From there, Devin kept building. He continued moving forward in his career, eventually capturing titles in yet another weight division. As of recent reporting, Devin Haney holds a professional record of 33 wins and 0 losses, and has added the WBO welterweight title to his resume, becoming a champion across multiple divisions once again. 3 different weight classes, multiple unified and undisputed reigns, and an undefeated record that, despite one deeply controversial night, technically remains spotless to this very day. Pause. But numbers on a record sheet don't always tell the whole emotional story, because even now, when people talk about Devin Haney's career, that night against Ryan Garcia still comes up constantly. The 3 knockdowns, the suspicion, the lawsuit. For a fighter who built his entire reputation on discipline and doing things the right way, having his name permanently tied to one of boxing's biggest doping controversies, that's a strange, complicated legacy to carry. What betrayal really means in boxing. I think when most people hear the word betrayal in sports, they imagine something dramatic. A teammate turning on you, a coach lying to you, a friend stabbing you in the back. But Devin Haney's story shows a different, quieter kind of betrayal. The betrayal of an unfair playing field. The betrayal of stepping into one of the most dangerous environments in professional sports, trusting that both competitors are following the same rules and finding out afterward that maybe you weren't. Think about how much of Devin's identity was built on doing things correctly, turning pro early, but training like a professional from day one. Building an undisputed championship reign through actual unification fights, not shortcuts. Never once in his entire career having his own name attached to a doping scandal. And then, the one time his undefeated record actually gets threatened. It happens under circumstances that call the entire fairness of the fight into question. There's something almost poetic, in a sad way, about how this story played out. The commission's ruling gave Devin back his 0 in the loss column, but it could never give him back that feeling of certainty, that unshakable confidence fighters carry when they know, beyond any doubt, that whatever happens in the ring is purely a result of 2 athletes competing honestly. What I find most respectable about Devin Haney, though, is what he did after all of it. He didn't disappear. He didn't let the controversy define the rest of his career. He pursued the lawsuit, yes, standing up for himself in a very public, very uncomfortable way. But he also got back in the ring. He fought again. He won again. He kept adding to his legacy instead of hiding from it. That's a harder thing to do than people realize. It's one thing to be angry about being wronged. It's a completely different thing to take that anger, that sense of injustice, and turn it into fuel to keep building, rather than letting it consume you. So when you think about Devin Haney's story, I don't want you to just remember the 3 knockdowns or the headlines about a failed drug test. I want you to remember a kid who turned pro at 16 and built one of the most disciplined careers in modern boxing. A fighter who became undisputed champion the honest way, and a man who, even after being betrayed in the most literal sense, under the bright lights, in front of millions of people, by circumstances completely outside his control, still found a way to stand back up, lace up his gloves again, and keep proving exactly who he really is. Sometimes the true test of a champion isn't how they handle winning. It's how they handle being wronged and still choosing to fight fair anyway. If this story hit you the way it hit me, let me know down in the comments what you think really happened that night. And if you want more real, honest stories about the fighters behind the headlines, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next story.